What's happened to me? I must be dreaming. Pigeon, I feel like I can take on the world today. Am I the leader? Am I the big Jonah? I can't win. I am back. Showgun is back on the scene, and the Showgun is the master. I know it is.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Looks like I'm going to get this started pretty much on time. Different compared to most of the time. Let's see who's popping in. I'm going to do a quick refresh on my screen here. See if we get anybody coming in the room. Let's see what's going on. It is early here in California. Folks, let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm still new to this thing here, so I am going to do a couple quick things here. Whoa, get the feedback going there. Turn that down. So we got the chat going. Oh, looks like chat is not up and going. Let me fix that for you folks. My apologies. Let's see if I can get chat going. Get into the room. Let's see if I can enable this thing. There we go. Let's hit this on enable. Somehow the chat got disabled on that. My apologies. Everybody just refresh there. We should be good. Get you back in the room. So if you're there and you're listening, hit refresh. You guys should all be good. Live chat should be up and going. It's a little technical. There we go. All right, I see you there. Anon, nice to see you. Oh, you're going by fast. Moto, Rapid, Don, Bo, Inevitable, Jesse. Hey, what's up? Let's see who else is in there. Cool. People popping in. Sweet. Norway, what's up? Germany, what's up? Hey. So I'm going to end up getting to some questions here. I put out a video announcement the other day asking for questions from flat earthers. Oh, let me turn this background music down. There we go. And oddly enough, I didn't get that many, but I did a quick review last night to see how many I had. I had like 10. It looks like this morning people have done a little push, so it looks like we'll have a few things to talk about. Good morning from, let's see, what's up from France? Ostraborn, Dog Boots, Eye of Toth. Hey, what's up? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be straight, pretty much direct with this. I'm just going to scroll through the comment threads, skipping over all the ones that aren't questions, read the question. Hopefully it'll be something I can answer. I've done a quick review of the ones that happened the first day or so, but a lot of them came in. I really didn't look at it. I just noticed that they were a question. I said, cool, there's a question. I'll take a look at it. Hey, what's up, Diamond? Who else is in the room? Tony, Gary, Steve, Sumerian Sumer. How do I keep pressure? That's a question that's already good. It's going to be asking here. Don't worry about it. Asking questions here now. For people who are interacting in the chat, I'm going to be trying my best to answer the questions that I see in the comment threads. So I'm not going to be monitoring the chat so much. There's going to be a couple people who are moderators in there, so they'll keep things cool. But if I'm not seeing your chat, don't take it personal. I'm trying to get through the the questions that I can easily see. Your questions go by so quickly, it's hard to keep up with the chat. But I have a number of questions that I got in the comment threads, so I'm going to be going through those. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves, be cool. Hey, what's up? VWT4. I don't know what that one is. Interesting. That is a word I have not even seen before. So let's get to this. Well, just right off the bat, before I even get to this, I'm going to ask the room. How's everybody feel about my last video? This whole idea of getting away from talking about personalities and talking about ideas, talking about subjects, talking about the claims that are being made. That's something that I tried to stay to early on, and just, you know how things go. People come at you. You feel the need to respond. Well, at first you don't even feel the need to respond. It's just like, oh, this is a good topic to make a conversation on. So I respond more for the purpose of being informative, especially early on with my first demarble videos. That was literally just, oh, this person is putting out a lot of information. Let me explain that information. It wasn't meant to be personal in the slightest. But as things are, they ramp up. They go back and forth. All of a sudden now it's like you and me, we're going to go at it. And I'm just as human as anybody else. And so I know I get caught up in that even when I don't want to. Because then there's a certain amount of, it's like, well, you know what? I know I was right. I know this person was incorrect. But do I let this person have the last word? And if I let this person have the last word, it looks like I'm conceding. And so now I'm just to the point where it's like, who cares? Yeah, I need to get back to who I am as an individual, and get away from that kind of drama, because drama begets drama. And over the last month or so, especially over the last week or so, the unintended drama has ramped up considerably. All of a sudden, there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, let's go one-on-one with GreaterSapien, and let's make a scene out of this. Let's make some beef out of this. Let's make some time out of this. And yeah, I honestly don't have time to steward through all that kind of thing. It's just it's a waste of time, and it's a waste of energy, and it's a distraction from the information, especially when I end up having to be repetitive on these different videos. So just have a boxing match. I will have a boxing match with anybody. And that's not like a challenge type of thing. I happen to just love sparring when I don't care who the person is. I've sparred with people who are 70 pounds bigger than me. I've sparred with people who are smaller. It's just a fun thing to do. So yeah, it would be fun. Thanks for posting to my website there, Anne. So so I hope you guys are all on board with that. I'm not going to say that I'm going to be perfect about this. You know that I'm a little bit of a dick sometimes, and so it's going to come through. Even in my last video, even in my last video, you know, I threw some digs in there. You know, I did, because I like to write. I like to craft a narrative, and I like to throw in jokes here and there, and I like to put in little knife cuts every so often. That's just how I am. But this whole direct attack on individuals to take them down thing is going away. That is my son's alarm going off. I hope he turns it off. Okay. Sorry. Home life. If you do not like the term, I do like flatomaton. I like flatomaton. That's, yeah, I kind of like that. I like flatomaton. Dude, turn off your alarm, man. Wake up. Son's alarm just going. He's just sleeping right through it. It's hilarious. Let's see. So anything else going on here? You know, they don't care. All right. Here we go. So let me share my screen here. Let me get a couple things going. Hey, what's up, Never? Thank you very much. Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have pulled up my list of digital thank yous on my website, studiosapien.com/support. I think it is. You can purchase T-shirts, which are going to be going on kind of indefinitely now because obviously I want to try to make up some, get a little bit more funds. So if any of my donors ask for any of their money back, I have some, some money to pay them back with. So there's T-shirts available for sale there. The alarm's still going off, and there's also what I call a digital thank you. It's just basically it's a $5 donation. It's just a way of saying thanks. And at some point, I'll go through the list and do a video where I say thank you to the people who purchase digital thank yous. So I'm going to do a quick screen share here. Let's get this up and going. I apologize for the sound of a clock radio alarm going off in the background. For those who don't know what this is, this was just real off topic. I was in DC, I don't know, I guess it was last summer for work. And whenever I travel for work, I like to go to the local monuments and work out. Go through my long movements, go through my short movements. I practice a silat, which is an Indonesian kung fu. And so this day I was working out just before dawn and just through dawn at in front of the White House. And while I was there, this gentleman, whose name is, let me have it down here, Chevalier de Saint George. Remy is the actual actor's name, who does a one-man show about the life of this former slave in France. He was there. He showed up with his photographer to do a photo shoot, and so we started having fun together. And the photographer was taking photos. So that's what this is from. It's just one of those things that's kind of incongruous, and I enjoy the look of it. Okay, let's see. So let's move this to the side. Let's see. I have a blank sheet of Illustrator in the back just in case I need to draw anything from any of your questions. So let me move this over so I can see. There might come a time where I need to get off of this mic just for a second and go turn off my son's alarm because that's annoying. Can you guys hear that alarm? I'm just curious. Waiting for a reaction. Can any of you guys hear that alarm? Okay, cool. All right, excellent. I'm glad you can. Yeah, it's this mic has its own little sound pattern, so it's not getting things coming in from the side. That's excellent to hear. Okay, then I won't worry about it. It's just annoying me. Okay, so you can see here, this is these are all the comments on my call for comments video. They are in order of newest to oldest. So what I have done is I have scrolled down. Oh, hold on a second. Let's see if I can get some more here. There's no more. I've scrolled down to the very beginning. Thanks for the super chat, KD. Thank you very much. I've scrolled down to the earliest of them, and I'm just going to scroll through. Now, I'm just going to go for the top level comments. All these here where people went back and forth, and maybe they said something and asked a question in there. I don't have time to go through all that. That's why I was asking people to make them comments of their own. Okay, so ask flat earthers. Now, if you're asking me to ask a flat earther something, I'm going to skip it because it's not a question for me, and it's not about the globe. I did ask people to ask questions about the globe. I know in one of my statements I was a little vague and just kind of said ask questions. So all of a sudden I just kind of got random questions like, why does my tooth hurt and things like that. But I'm going to try to stick to things that are within the realm of the globe and the globe model. And I'm going to try to stick to things that if I don't think I can answer it in like 5 minutes, I'll tell you and say, look, I'll touch on it, and then maybe I'll do a video about it if it's something that's that complex. Hopefully there will be some of those complex ones. Okay, so how do we have ask a flat earther, how do you have buoyancy without gravity? I think they meant gravity. And that's not for me. That's for a flat earther. What's the latest news regarding the pole-to-pole scam? This is not a question about the globe model, but I know it's going to come up. Latest news. Let's see. I have reported it to the FBI. I've reported it to international internet crime. Let's see. I'm dealing directly with the ticket vendor, which is Zing SE. I think they are. They're out of Germany. They're working on their end. I've contacted my bank about reversing the wire, which is possible, but only if it's acknowledged on the other, if it's approved on the other side. So I'm kind of working both ends. I got to get Zing to green light it, and then Wells Fargo will pull it back. So it's just one of those things, the way things work. Yeah, it's just about shaking the bushes constantly. There's a lot of stuff going back and forth with people supposedly investigating and looking at IP addresses and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I passed all that information over in my report. I gave links to websites. I gave screenshots of emails that I've received when I put in my report. And question is, I have no idea how the wheels of justice grind. They say the wheels of justice grind slow, but they grind fine. We'll see, but it's going to be a marathon. I don't think this is going to be a sprint, so I just need to be prepared for the long haul. So that's the latest on that. Quick going through. Let's see. Okay, let's see this person. I have two identical bodies of mass. I accelerate them at great velocity in a parallel manner adjacent to each other. Does the gravitational attraction between them increase, or does it remain the same? I'm assuming you're talking about getting to relativistic speeds, because if you're dealing with just two masses, the attraction between them isn't going to increase the faster you get unless you start to get up to what I believe is relativistic speeds. Because what happens is, as at least mathematically what it's been shown, as objects are accelerated faster and faster and faster, due to the speed limit of the universe, that you cannot accelerate past the speed of light, the inertial mass will increase. The energy you're putting into the system gets translated into inertia, into mass. And so whether or not that turns into gravitational mass or just kind of inertial energy, I don't know. It's a very interesting proposition, but I don't think that's something we'll ever be able to test, to take two masses and accelerate them to relativistic speeds and see how they interact with each other. But it is a very interesting question. I wish I did have that answer. Asking flat earthers stuff, that's not for me. 10 grand reward is up for grabs. Terms and conditions apply. Yeah, I don't care about that person and their little supposed reward. Why do people watch conspiracy? Nope, not for me. Another advertisement for something. Why do people get entrenched in their beliefs? That's not for me. How long have I been working for Illuminati? What part of Ask Questions About the Globe do people not understand? Interesting. Moving forward. What do I think is the purpose or reason for the sudden interest belief in the flat Earth model? And someone, our remarks right off the bat, people want to feel special. To a certain degree, I think that's true. I think there was a surge. There was a push in anti-intellectualism in the early 2000s and it's not about politics. It's about information. But in the 2000s, when Fox News came around, and it was all about promoting when news began to become very polarized. So then you had Fox News and you had the early MSNBC, and so there was a kind of a push of anti-intellectualism going on, and distrust of authority was being encouraged. And it seems that this generation has just glommed onto it and been influenced by it. And so I think this is just the natural progression of that. It doesn't help when you have major events that are shady happening, like 9/11 happened, and then you had the progression to war after it, which had all sorts of questions about it, of course. And so when you take an atmosphere of anti-intellectualism and you take an atmosphere of political deceit going on, this stuff gets accelerated. That would be my interpretation of it. But that's not a fact. I will check for questions in the chat as I go along, but I can't read one and the other at the same time. If there's anything that's particularly, let me see, I still got music going on in the background. Skip and turn that off. All right. Maybe Anne is there, is a moderator. Maybe they can highlight them for me. I'll try to keep that in mind. But when I get on a roll, hey BJ, it's hard for me to multitask. Let's see. $10,000 reward. What would you do? What would I do if my partner became a flat earther and couldn't be talked out of it? Well, that would be obviously the end result of a long degenerative road. that would be something that would be I would see coming. If it got to the point where my wife became a flat earther, we would already have had many problems along the way. To have gotten to that point, it was probably already dissolved by that point. That's just but luckily, that's not the way it's working. She's highly encouraging me to take the high road on all these. No, I didn't say I didn't buy the 9/11 tale. I'm just acknowledging the fact that there is a lot of questions around the politics around 9/11. Okay. Let's see. Do a meetup, a hangout. I don't know. Groups of people who already think alike. It's kind of boring to me. Hey, what's up, young blue skeptic? Nice to see you. And congratulations on your 1,000+ subs, my man. So doing a meetup or hangout, there's something about collections of people who are all on the exact same page that is kind of like navel gazing to me. I don't necessarily like being around people who all think exactly alike, especially if there's a targeted group for them to all go after. It ends up just being kind of circle jerky. It's like, yeah, let's talk about them and how horrible they are. It's politics wise and everything. It's like I don't mind being in a group with around people who think the same way politically, but after a while, if it all just becomes kind of a bitch fest about the enemy, it becomes very very annoying, and so it's nothing. It's not my thing. I'm not much of a group guy. So even though I'm an atheist / agnostic, I don't join atheist groups and go out to atheist things, because it's like, no, I don't need to talk to people about the same thing over and over again. Sumerian Sumer, that question is amongst one of them that have been asked, and so I want to make sure I address it to the person who asked it originally. Thank you for that question, though. It will be covered. All right. So you don't have to go back and forth on that. You just have to wait till we get there. Let's see. All these things about nothing. What keeps the oceans and lakes level, and how can it possibly bend or curve with the Earth? And the person looks like they edited it. They got a ton of answers, at least a few. And anyone who said gravity, that's not the answer you're searching for. Why? So this is to Heartbeat Storm. Well, my apologies, Heartbeat Storm. When you ask a question, you can't decide what answer you're looking for. If you decided that there are answers that you won't accept, that means that you're not truly looking for an answer. You need to be, open, and then you can criticize the answer, but can't say that's not the answer I'm looking for. Then you weren't really asking a question. The fact is, what keeps the oceans and lakes level is gravity. Here's the thing. People say that water finds its own level, and it's True, but that's really kind of that's a shorthand. That's an easy way of saying things. What happens is that water finds, and all liquids. Water is not special. This happens with all liquids, uh, depending on their level of viscosity, how quickly they do this. But what they do is they find balance of the forces that are acting upon them. Hey, Mythic, what's up? They find balance of the forces that are acting upon them. So, for example, the easiest example is water in free fall. What happens to water in free fall? It forms into a sphere. And why is that? The reason for that is because there are still forces acting upon the water when it's in free fall, when it's in so-called 0G. There's surface tension, and that surface tension is pulling on it at all times. And so what happens is it forms a shape that most evenly distributes the surface tension. And in that case, it's a sphere, it's a ball. That's what happens. And so now you're out, when you go outside, sorry for hitting the mic there, when you go outside of free fall and you get into the direct influence of gravity, it seeks that balance of forces again. It looks to even out all of those forces. And so what happens is it levels out gravitationally. Now, when you look at something in a container, like a cup, the difference in gravitational, influence from one end of the cup to the other end of the cup is negligible. So it looks absolutely perfectly level. But it's still technically gravitationally level. But you spread out over a large distance, you have the gravity, say, in the east end of the Pacific Ocean, and you have gravity on the western side of the Pacific Ocean. The water there on both sides are both gravitationally level. They are not level to each other because they don't care about each other. They care about the forces acting upon them. So they stay gravitationally level. And so over distance, it changes according to the forces influenced on them. It's the same reason why they move around when there's when it swells during different barometric pressure. It's because it's changing its shape to seek the balance of the forces. That's why it stays level. Oceans stay level. Let's see. My favorite map projection of the globe. You're partial to the Eckert. Let's see. I think I use the Winkle triple projection mostly at work. It tends to come up a lot in terms of having to graphically show the world in a way that's kind of visually appealing to the eye to people without looking too off. So I think that's what I tend to go for. Anything else going on in the room real quick? I'm trying to look over. Young Blue, hold on a second here. Let me do a little back end work here. I need to do a little work. Whoops. Sorry about that. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'll do it shortly. Man, that alarm of my son is starting to drive me crazy. Let's see. Next up, how do flat Earth folks explain alpenglow? I don't know how they explain it. That's the kind of glow you get. It's like, I think it's a post sunset on the opposite horizon. It's kind of a glow that happens due to, I think, light scattering. I don't know how they explain it. They probably don't. Pole to pole is truly canceled. How else feel to be a gatekeeper has nothing to do with this. Flat earthers, come on, people. Ooh, there's something from Flat Earth Perth. Probably nothing of value. Let's see. That's more donor stuff. Hopeful pessimist. Is hopeful pessimist in the room? Okay. Hopeful pessimist is very much about his or her idea about a high altitude balloon experiment, and it's a decent experiment, and other people have discussed it. It's not a question, except for it's really a question of, isn't he or she correct about this being a good experiment. For some reason, Hopeful Pessimist has decided that it's really important that people listen to their experiment and acknowledge that they came up with this idea that's very good. It's a very personal, very egotistical thing that this person is doing, and I don't know why, but yeah, interesting. If you'll notice that this person comes up a lot talking about how they came up with this idea and no one listened to them, and that's why there's a problem. But again, that's talking about people. What will anyone gain from lying about the shape of the Earth? Flat Earthers think that the scientists are trying to suppress the existence of God. That's one of the many claims. If Discovery Channel did a 3-mile laser test, why can't I do one too? Well, I'm not the Discovery Channel. That sentence itself answers itself. If the Discovery Channel did something, why can't I do something? I'm not the Discovery Channel. I don't do this for a living. Unlike many of our flat Earth friends out there, the pushing of and the attack against the flat Earth isn't a lifetime goal of mine. It's not an agenda that I wake up every day thinking about. I have a personal life. I have a job. I have a family, and all those take far more priority than going out and doing a 3-mile laser test to prove something that already exists. So that is why. I will not be taking up Jay DeCaspy up on his 10,000 baller challenge. First thing, if you want me to interact with me at all, you need to be less insulting about it. And you can see from my last video, I'm not playing those games anymore, so I don't have time for that. Oh, okay. What's the best evidence against mass-based gravity? Most effective way of debunk this odd idea. This person, I think, believes gravity is not this person. They're asking about it. Gravity is based on static electricity. What's the best evidence against mass-based gravity? And see that, honestly, I have to say that I don't know how to pronounce your name here. CPL USMC retired. I think that is a really good question, because for something to be considered scientific, a scientific theory, a scientific idea, one of the rules that it has to hold to is it has to be falsifiable, not falsified, but there has to be ways of disproving it, and it can defeat those ways of disproving it, but there have to be ways. If you come up with an idea and it's just kind of magic and somehow works its way around and there's no way to actually invalidate it, then it's just fantasy. It's just made up. But in order to be scientific, there has to be some way of testing it and it failing that challenge. Now hopefully it won't fail, but there has to be like a potential for failure. So, for example, so in this case, what is the best evidence against mass-based gravity is a very good question, because you have to wonder, if gravity is a scientific concept, there has to be ways of testing it and figuring out it's falsifiable. So one evidence against gravity being wholly based on mass is the fact that light, which doesn't seem to have any mass component, is influenced by gravity. But so, if there is a gravitation, if it is purely gravitational, like it's purely mass-based, does not the influence that it has on light invalidate that in a certain way? I don't believe it does, but that is a possibility. That's a challenge to it. That's when you start getting into the curvature of space-time, but even that is still seemingly connected to mass. Hey, Jim. It's still connected to mass in some way. So, but obviously there are components that are not necessarily directly mass-based between the gravitational object and the thing being influenced. If light doesn't have any a mass component, it's it makes it questionable, at least worth questioning, the pure mass influence when it comes to gravity. Let's see. And gravity is static electric. Here's the thing that bugs me about people who, and that's not, I'm not talking about the person asking this question. I might, Jesus, I'm not sure. I'll see. I haven't seen all of these questions, so I'll see what I can get to. So what was I saying? The problem what I have with flat earthers when they try to say gravity doesn't exist, it's just, it's just static electricity. Gravity doesn't exist, it's just magnetism. When you say that gravity is just magnetism, it's just some new component of magnetism. That does not invalidate gravity. You're just saying gravity exists in a different, it's described a different way. It's wholly possible, and actually, I hope that this is true, that gravity will be folded in with the other three uh, uh, primary forces that are in the standard model, and a connection will be made between gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and the weak forces. If we can find that universal uh, connection, then yes, you will be able to say that gravity is just electromagnetism in this form, just as you can say that the strong and weak forces are modifications of electromagnetism and vice versa. They're all just kind of variations on the theme. That's what I'm saying. Gleam Mac, yes, gravity is not in the standard model. That's why I'm saying when you talk about, I'm talking about folding it into the standard model. And if you do happen to, if we do eventually fold gravity into the standard model, then it's the idea that it's not gravity, it's electromagnetism. Well, if they're all versions of the same thing, that gravity still exists. It's just understood to be in a different form. So saying it's static electricity, not gravity, is not actually saying gravity doesn't exist. It's just saying its origin, its mechanism is different, and that's where the argument is. That's where the battle when it comes to when it comes to gravity. It's not about whether or not this influence happens. That's not a question. The gravitational influence happens. Question is, what is its mechanism? For example, is it gravitons? There is theoretical gravitons. There's the whole Higgs boson thing connection when it comes to mass. There's the curvature of space-time. All these things are connected or possibly not connected if they get falsifiable. And then there's all the quantum stuff. Yes, but that does not make gravity not exist. It just means the mechanism is in question. And I see a young blue skeptic mentions density and buoyancy. That's something that comes up all the time. The fact is that buoyancy is the force caused by buoyancy is because of gravity. That's fact. And when they do buoyancy calculations, they put gravity into it, mass and gravity. That's what it is. Okay, so let's see. Moving on. Why do I even bother engaging flat earthers at this point? Well, Requiem for a Dream. You saw my last video. A curvature test someone with little science background can easily and inexpensively perform. That is a difficult one, especially if you don't live near a body of water, which is what my thing is. Yeah, you can do some curvature tests near a body of water. There are your basic and just for two people to do together, that's kind of hard. It's almost everything requires at least a set of people in several different locations. So I wish I could had something for you. Yeah, just your basic disappearing over the horizon, as Neil Reinhardt says, but you don't live near a large enough body of water for that type of thing. So I wish I had something that was simple for you, but I do not. When the moon lifts the tide up, water's closer to the moon. Shouldn't that give the moon's gravity more strength to pull it even higher? Also, water farther away from the center of the Earth. Okay, this is an interesting one. The moon's influence on water. Yeah, the moon's influence on water isn't that great. And I know you're going to say, what are you talking about? Maybe I should just I'm going to try to do something on the fly here, try to do a little bit of drawing here. So we're going to, can you see this? Yeah, this is being shared. Okay. So let's just get a little circle here. Bum, bum, bum. Oops. Okay. So I'm just going to do a series of arrows and things like that. So you have gravity. So you have water on the surface here. I'm just going to make a, where's my pencil? All right. Where's my pencil and where's my stylus? Yeah, I can't find it. Okay. So you have water on the surface over here. You have water kind of on the surface of this planet, right? Of the Earth. And the moon is up there. That's the moon. Sorry about this. It's just a janky little vector thing here. Moon is that way. And then here's the Earth right here. Here's the center of the Earth. And there are influences going on. People like to think that it's the moon and it's just pulling the water toward the moon. And to a certain degree, that's true. But what's really happening is that you have water over here, and you have the gravitational influence on the water, which is a vector pointing toward the center of the Earth. And then you have a gravitational vector that's pointing toward the moon because it's being pulled that way. And now the gravity, actually, let me undo that because so you have a gravitational vector that's pointing toward the Earth. It's very strong. You have another gravitational vector pointing toward the moon. It's not that strong compared to the Earth. It's not strong enough to pull it off the Earth. But when you add these vectors up, there is a net vector in that direction. It's not going straight toward the Earth anymore. It's being influenced that way. So what happens is the water travels this way, and the water over here travels that way. And that causes the water to stack up on itself when it gets here. The water here is pretty stable in terms of it's got a vector going here and it's got a vector going here. It's just going to do what it's going to do. But what happens is water gets stacked up as this vector addition happens that way. So it's not like the moon is so strong that it's pulling the water off the surface of the Earth or lifting it up. Sorry about the dogs in the background. But there's just a small vector addition happening going on that is causing this water to traverse toward the balance between the Earth and the moon, and the water basically by volume just stacks up. And so you get the tidal bulge as it has stacked up. But it's never so much, and this is obviously a big exaggeration. It is never, we're talking a matter of meters here. So the difference between the gravitational influence between right here at sea level to 2 meters above sea level is not that much. And so it's not going to get continuously pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled until it goes out into space. Sorry for the crude drawing. I'm doing that with a mouse. My my stylus seems to be missing. But does that make sense to y'all? I'm going to do a quick grab and delete. Let me go back over. Does that make sense to everyone? Did that understand? Gleam Mac, why this doesn't happen in freshwater lakes? For one, there's not the type of feeder system in lakes to have the water stack up. Also, there's not that much of difference between one side of the lake versus the other side of the lake. Large lakes that actually have river, feeding systems into them going from other bodies of water do actually show tidal influence. But when their tidal influence is only a matter of centimeters, you might as well just say there's no tide. But yes, even when they say the lakes are non-tidal, they are tidal, but they're just small enough that nobody cares. Yes, Fred. Yeah. Pull is pull, but it's not pulling. It's not a Gleam Mac. Pull is pull. You're correct. But the pull toward the moon isn't enough. Well, like I was saying, there is the vectors add into a slight directional influence across the surface of the Earth. So thank you, Akine. I can't think that's Akine. Sorry about that. Don't mean to mispronounce your name. So that's the answer to that one there. So that was from Wolverine 314 and a couple people in there. So let's see, moving on. Burning Witches. Oh, that's hilarious. Question to Flat Earthers, skipping it. Why are Flat Earthers just okay? Nope. Flat Earth Perth asking about my bank statement. Why don't you give your bank statement? Because it's none of your damn business. Why'd you lie about my credit card? Why did I lie about my credit card? I didn't. You're just making shit up. Why did you blur out the amount of the wire transfer? Because it's none of your damn business. Okay. Let's see. If the Earth is flat, not for me. I did not watch the Globebusters debunk of the Discovery Channel. I saw that there was some stuff about whether or not they were actually, volunteers versus scientists. I don't know why that matters, but so let's see. Do a debunking video on somebody. That's not something I'm willing to do. Why? That's about flat earthers and why they don't understand things. A reading list. I meant to look at this. Who are not applied science types. Some of the best reading is like if you can read some Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman was a great scientist, a great mathematician, but he also did a really good job of breaking things down in a way to understand concepts. I'll have to follow up on that because I'm sorry I missed this before, but and honestly, going to debates, going to forums where people are discussing, like I don't know, like here in San Francisco, we have we have forums where people will come. They'll go to Stanford and they'll come and they'll speak. You can go there and you can watch the way they go about answering questions, the way they go about formulating their thoughts. That is really helpful when you just watch a person speak about the subject they know a lot about. But I apologize for not being prepared to give you a reading list. Let's see. Posting the same thing over and over again. Yep. Density. Yeah. That's not a question. That's not a question. Would I ever do a curvature test together with a famous flat earther? Possibly, depending on who the person was and what their desire was. I would have to break it down a lot beforehand because I'm not into wasting time, and so it's just kind of like, oh, we're going to do a laser test type of thing. It doesn't work for me. It would have to be multiple tests going on at once as a way of kind of crossing things off a list. For example, there was one, I can't remember who it was. They did a laser test. I think it was like 7.5 miles across ice or something like that. They were saying that they could see it. And the whole point of the idea of laser test is kind of annoying to me because there's so many weird things about it involved in it. Like the fact that, blue light refracts at a different level, actually a much more extreme level than say red light. So I don't know, you could be using something that doesn't refract. I like the idea of using wavelengths that don't refract much at all, like certain microwave levels, I believe it is. There was one where they did a laser test over a lake, and they had these walkie-talkies that were rated for 50 miles, and they were really mad because after 5 or 6 miles or so, they stopped working, and they figured, oh, they're just broken. And the fact is, yeah, young blue skeptic, give me a second here. I'll see if I can do that on the back end while we're talking. But so they had this these like I said, these walkie-talkies that they said they stopped working after a certain amount of miles. And what they didn't understand is that the walkie-talkies aren't affected by refraction. And so it wasn't that the walkie-talkies weren't working anymore, is that the walkie-talkies were not making it past the curve of the Earth. So they discarded the walkie-talkies because they were broken. When the fact is that the walkie-talkies were working just fine. The lasers were getting refracted by the light, but the walkie-talkies were not, and so they just thought they were broken or just faulty. And so I think using technology that isn't affected by the refraction would be a great way of checking those things. But most people, they want to have but then you wouldn't be able to see it. Most people want to have that shiny thing of a light and a laser because it's cool, and just doing something that will just work properly isn't their thing. Let's see if I can get you a wrench there, young blue. I gotta find you. Okay, let's see. All right, you need to refresh there, young blue, and you're good. You should be. So performing experiments. So that's what I would say would be best type of experiments to do, would be ones that aren't affected by things like simple atmospheric refraction. Yes, flat earthers can convince themselves. Neil Reinhardt and all caps things. Okay. Folks call you Greater or GreaterSapien rather than my real name. I always say GreaterSapien. How do I feel when folks in live chats use a channel name other than my name? The thing is, Rex, how do I say it best? I'm Black. We're used to having several names. It's just part of our culture. So being called by different things, as long as they're respectful, doesn't bother me at all. Over the years, my name is Gerald. My short name is Jerry. I've had dreads for years, so people just call me Dread. People call me Wheels. People call me Yams. Kids Wheel Yams. It's just a weird little thing. Sapien is one that gets shortened to Sapien or Sape. Happens a lot. Yeah, I'm used to it. It's just what we do. You have different nicknames over the years, so it doesn't matter to me as long as it's done respectful. Let's see. Speaking of respectful, there's Flat Earth Perth being disrespectful. What will you do with your life when Earth is proved flat? This is Mark of the Beast. What will you do with your life when Earth is proved to be flat? Will I just go away? Well, what will I do with my life when the Earth is proved flat? Well, given that it's not going to happen in my lifetime, I don't have to worry about it because I would long be dead. It's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen in my lifetime. It's not going to happen in your lifetime. The question for you, Mark of the Beast, is how are you going to still be on your deathbed going, one of these days, the truth is going to come out? One of these days? Or will you finally get there and go, well, I guess it's not happening? I have a feeling you will be on your deathbed, alone, afraid, and unloved, still wondering if it's going to come out the next day. When will the truth come out? How much money was lost? Just short of 18 grand. Let's see. Question, according to and that's because, I was able to reverse the deposit I put on the ticket. Question, according to the equation, sun accelerates and decelerates through the air, creating a figure eight. Why doesn't gravity change the formula? Earth is seriously flat. You have this thing about the equation of time. I understand that's your thing. And it's your thing because it's not a thing. It's just yours. Why gravity doesn't change its formula for different speeds? Because gravity isn't based on velocity. That's why. The speeds change because of the gravitational influence, as the orbits are not perfectly circular. It is elliptical, so as it gets a little closer, it accelerates due to gravitational influence, and then decelerates a little bit as it comes away. But it's not the other way around. So you don't change the gravitational equation. You're not understanding how gravity works. The scientists watching capture the firmament video, that is people just finding a way of stretching and making pictures in their own mind and imagining things. That's what that is. Let's see. Can I comment on the Belaton Lake laser test? Not really. The FE core stuff, that seemed like just a big cluster as far as I was concerned. There was so much changes and were I think their basis, I guess I can't comment on it. The whole premise behind the way they were leveling things, uh, the changes they were making, the bad way of measuring things. The idea of having this rocking boat and having somebody out there with a retractable tape measure, bouncing back and forth and eyeballing from a meter off to the left where the position is, made no sense to me. There are ways of coming up with a better system. Okay. I don't know the zigzag argument. Jesse Kozlowski is awesome. Great stuff. Oh, that's a great idea for someone earlier was asking about basic experiments that you can do to prove curve. I mean, I don't know how expensive it is to get some of this survey equipment, but Jesse Kozlowski does great stuff with minimal distance. It's not going like 20 10 miles apart and stuff. He's just showing basic things because the drop is immediate. I mean, that's just how the curve is. But he sets some really nice small experiments up, and so anybody who hasn't looked at Kozlowski stuff should. Who was my least favorite flat earther and why? I don't like people who lie. I don't like disingenuous people. I don't want to get into the whole who, what personal thing. Honestly, that's one thing I'm trying to get away from. But I can say right now, I don't dislike the major guys that I've had clashes with for the most part. I don't dislike D at all. I find him very interesting. And there's actually a lot of things. I was watching a live stream of his the other day with Vegan Warrior. And there were a lot of things that I agreed with him on, especially when it came to corruption in the Catholic Church and things like that. I just think he's misguided in a lot of his thinking, but I don't have anything against him personally in such a way that I don't, that I dislike him, not in the slightest. There are people who I think are disingenuous in their approach to things and in their interactions with me. For example, people who try to act like they're searching for the truth, yet at the same time, what they do is do what they can to slander and denigrate the character of other people. Those type of people I don't respect in the slightest, and I don't really have time for them in my life. But I'm not going to name. I don't have a particularly least favorite flat earther, but I will say that some people aren't completely off in their estimate. Do I think if flat Earth were sent up into space, they would believe the Earth was round? Some would. I think a lot of them would not go. I think I can't remember who it was. It might have been Jeranism or someone who said that they wouldn't go if it was offered because they would be worried that they would be getting set up to be killed or something. They automatically thought, no, I wouldn't take it because they might kill me. They might try to shut me up. I think a lot of them are so ingrained in their belief system that they would just say, well, there's possible that they drugged my refreshment to give me hallucinations, and then they just put me in a simulator. So I don't know if it was real at all. They'd come up with something, So that's what I think would happen. People call me a fraud and accuse me of crimes without evidence and that are totally false. Those are the type of people I don't like. Let's see. Yes, the globe can be proven by radio signals that don't refract are serious proof of the globe. There is another one about not spending time on flat earthers. I understand that. I'm trying to look at the chat, see if there's anything going on in there. Actually, hold on a second here. Let's see if I can find my man Jesse. Jesse doesn't. Yeah. Let's see if I can get you a hold on, Jesse. I'm going to give you moderator status because you're old school. You got clout with me. All right, Jesse. If you refresh, you have moderator status as well. Let's see. How many have used survey equipment and made measurements? I haven't touched survey equipment in years. Early on, when I was doing small gigs around the Bay Area, I did some landscape work and with the University of California, and because they like to have students do stuff, so they didn't have to pay. so I did some I did a little work with some surveying equipment back then, but yeah, even I admit I've been hands off on that stuff for a long time. So I would never even claim to be any type of expert on using survey equipment. Let's see. Okay. Getting through a lot here. Not a lot of questions. Sorry, these are people who have responded to other people's things. Okay. Jordan, he's not a flat earther, skeptical about the moon landings. If all equipment, it's not about the globe, but all equipment is still up there, moon, why haven't we pointed a Google Maps satellite toward the moon and got pictures of the landing sites? Well, Google Maps satellites aren't good enough. They're not, they don't have the angular resolution to capture the moon. Also, they're moving really quickly. So compared to the they're in they're in orbit around the Earth, and I'm not even sure if they're geosynchronous or if they're doing things differently. But if they were to try to turn one of those satellites and train it on the moon, that satellite is moving quickly in relation to the moon, and the angle between it and the moon would be changing fairly rapidly. So the idea of focusing that satellite on the moon those satellites on the moon would be really difficult. And also, they don't have the angular resolution. But as someone points out, we have had the LROC satellite up there going around the moon, doing surveying. And they have taken pictures of the moon landing sites. And I think this person actually put a link here. Let's see. Yeah, this person put a link. And here's an example of the LROC satellite photos, and you can see the different stages. You can see the tracks of moving around, and this and that. And of course, moon landing deniers just say those are fake. And that's the thing, is you can for years, moon landing deniers have said, why don't we just go up there and take photos of the landing sites with our satellites? And and early on, we didn't have any missions doing that. And then when they do get those missions doing it, people just say, oh, well, those are fake. So it's obvious that these folks actually don't want the information. They don't have a realistic standard of evidence because they don't want to know the truth. So they're disingenuous about it. They'll just keep raising the standard. The only way for them, and many of them, if you ask them what would be the absolute proof for you, they can't come up with anything that's realistic. They'll say, well, if you sent me up there and I saw it, well, that's not realistic. It's not. So, and if they say, if you had a continuous live feed of a rocket leaving the Earth, facing the Earth, so we saw the Earth completely go back, fall away, and go from being a flat plane into a globe. Don't turn away, don't curve and go in orbit, just go straight out and watch the Earth fall away and turn into a globe. Then I would believe. Well, the fact is, that's not how things work. You don't go straight out. you go into orbit around the Earth before you go further out. So they come up with things that aren't realistic, aren't how things are done as their standard, because then they can say it never happened. Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. The ISS has a hole in it. Yes, it was a micro. It's a micro hole, tiny, tiny hole. Yeah, and yeah, it's not. We're not. It's not science fiction movies where a little thing happens and everything goes and flying out through the hole. It's not the way things work. Just patch up the hole and it's done. It seems like 8-inch per mile square curvature argument is invalid. I've never cared for the whole 8-inch per mile squared thing in the first place. It assumes a perfectly spherical Earth. It assumes that we know the distance that the viewer is from the center of the Earth. It assumes we know the distance that the object is from the center of the Earth. It eliminates any possibility of any type of local aberration in surface geometry. It makes, and it's only good for relatively short distances. The fact is, if the Earth was flat, there would be no dip at all. That's the funny thing about flat earthers, is they say, well, according to the flat Earth the curve calculator, I'll make up a number, 400 feet should be missing, should be hidden, but looks like only 200 feet are missing. Well, according to the flat Earth, nothing should be missing. But they'll still say, well, obviously it's not true because it's not the full 400 feet. Well, according to flat Earth, nothing should be missing ever. So the whole curve calculator thing discussion always kind of bugged me. That's funny. Here's somebody who's accusing D Marble, IPS. I don't even know who that is. Patty, your Mark Sargent, and myself, all collaborating on the to do the over the pole scam. That's just foolishness, and not a question about the globe. There's another non-question about the globe. See, it's amazing how few questions I've actually gotten about the globe. Yeah, that's a person not happy about the fact there's no questions. Why is a change in distance to the equator or North Pole per degree of latitude constant? That's because the degrees latitude are measured from the center of the Earth. So that's why it's constant. If you're going around the equator, it's different, but and as you go higher, the difference between degrees longitude is different. But when you're going north and south, the degrees are measured from the center of the Earth. Thus, it's basically just across the surface of a spherical object. They're technically they're not exactly the same because the Earth has slightly different widths, but within a margin of error. Can I give an explanation of orbits? I'm not exactly sure what that question is. Can you restate that question? Yeah, sphere-ish, yes. Just an explanation of orbits is kind of vague. Yes, and thank you. Yeah. So I'll check back as I move on. Nivik, why does NASA always fail and use CGI? Why do people always just fall back on the old lie that everything is CGI? Why do you think no flat earther has ever shown us proof that the Earth is flat? In their mind, they have, because they compartmentalize. They're in their mind, if anything doesn't add up the way they think it should, according to their vision of the globe model, that's proof. So they don't understand comprehensive proof. They don't understand looking at things for the bigger picture. Sorry to say, they don't understand that. So they see something that seems to be off, and they assume that is proof, as opposed to looking at all the factors involved. They don't like multiple factors. They like to keep things simple. So according to them, they have made it. See, on a AE map, shortest distance straight line from anywhere in South Pole, measure distance. Do airline flights actually take this route, or would they fly generally eastward direction? Short distance flights are different when it comes to the pathways, and someone like that, someone here says Wolfie would be able to explain this a lot better. So I'll just do it in a way that hopefully doesn't insult him and make him call me up and tell me I'm an idiot. But short distance flights are different. There's all sorts of factors that can cause them to fly whichever way they're gonna fly. But when it comes to long distance flights, especially kind of transcontinental flights, transcontinental, not intercontinental, I think it's trans, is that they use, the great circle path. They actually go in the shortest distance across a curved surface. It's not a straight line, because the shortest distance, if the shortest distance is a straight line, then it would be cutting through the surface of the earth to go straight from one point on the surface to the other point on the surface. So you have to go in the curved line that is the shortest distance between those 2 points across the surface. So you take that curved line, and it is straight. It's a straight curved line. I think I might actually have an object, something here to show. Let's see. I think I might have saved something in a Google Drive that someone made a claim for. Recent. Yeah, here's one here. This was just someone had claimed that the shortest distance between Chile and New Zealand would take you over Antarctica, but the flights don't go that way because it's a joke. It doesn't do it. Well, the fact is, the shortest distance between New Zealand, the bottom part of New Zealand, and the bottom part of South America does not go through Antarctica. This is a straight line across the surface of surface of the Earth. Now, if you take that and you turn it into a flat map, it ends up being this kind of curved looking thing. But it is the straightest line, the most direct route across the surface. And that happens to take you, just north of Antarctica. So the reason they have those weird paths is because they are going on the shortest line across the surface of a three-dimensional object. If the Earth was flat, there would be these, straight lines, and they would go. It would be simple to just go, straight across. But that's not how the world actually works, and that's why you'll have these weird-looking shapes when you flatten out the curved path. Let's see. Yeah, that's about my music. Oh, how do stellar parallax and aberration prove the Earth is moving? That's a good one. First, let me see if anybody's saying anything in here. How do stellar parallax and aberration prove that the Earth is moving? Well, depending on how you decide to define things, you can always change the story to say that it doesn't prove it. But the thing is that these objects are really far away, and when the Earth, so parallax. I'm gonna do this here. And where is my? Here it is. Excuse me. Here, let me get this. Apologies for the noise. Okay, had to get my stylus. I was going to use this pencil. So parallax is you have stars, out here, and you have you here as the observer. Sorry, I'm just using a vector diagram thing instead of Photoshop right here. So that's you here as the observer, and that's you're looking at there. And so parallax is what happens, the difference, the way an object seems to shift in your view as you change your location. It happens with your eyes on a regular basis. That's how we have stereoscopic vision. That's how we see things in 3 dimensions. You close your right eye and you see, which is funny, I closed my left when I said that. Weird. You close your right eye and the object seems in a certain spot, and then you shift eyes and the object will shift to the side. That's parallax. That's the different point of view. So there's a certain view here, and then you have your viewer over here, and there's a certain view, and you have a viewer over here, and a certain point of view. So this angular change right here is the parallax, that seeming shift. The object may be in the exact same place, but that seeming shift is a acknowledgement that your location has changed. So when we are, let's see here, when we have a distant star out here, and then we have our sun over here, now obviously not to scale, and then we have our Earth over here, and then it orbits, comes that way. So you're looking at it, that angle, obviously much more severe because this would be way far away. And then when you're over here, you're looking at it, you see that angle, that shift, which is not to scale, obviously, that shift in angle is the parallax. And that's evidence that we have gone a distance over that time. If we haven't moved, then that object would not move in at all. But if you're of the mind of, if you're of a flat Earth persuasion, you could come up with a scenario that would make that work. I mean, they say, they'll say that that it's a projection on the dome, and that those things are shifting according to whatever God's plan is. So he could program into the laser projection of the dome a pattern that would simulate stellar parallax. I have to get a drink here. Hold on a second. I just noticed my voice was going. So they can, they could always throw that in there, that it simulates a stellar parallax. But the problem is there's too many factors of parallax that they don't think about. One thing that flat earthers will say all the time is that there's no discernible stellar parallax, or they'll say all these years and there hasn't been an inch of parallax. And they say that because there have been centimeters and there have been millimeters, but they'll say an inch because that's a large amount. Here's how parallax works, and this is why flat earthers should never use parallax as an argument. Here you are as the viewer down here. This is you. And let's say, actually, no, let's delete that. This is location 1 and location 2, where you're looking. And here's your star. Here's your object. If the star is close, the parallax is very high. It's very big, because the difference between the movement between location 1 and location 2 compared to the distance of the object is big. So the parallax is huge. Big shift. That much shift compared to it's a full swing. The farther an object gets away, the less and less the stellar parallax. See, that angle's getting smaller, that angle's getting smaller. The less and less the stellar parallax. So the fact that the stellar parallax is very small, but existent, but very small, is evident of the distance of these stars. Let me just let me pull up the window so I can see if anybody's talking there. That's evidence of the distance of these stars. If I'm going to move this over here so I can still see what's going on. If they say to get to the point where there's no stellar parallax at all, the star would have to be infinitely far away. It would have to be infinitely far away. If it gets to be a point where it's infinitely far away, no matter how much there's any ship, there will be no stellar parallax. So if the uh, if the Earth is covered by a dome, and as some of them claim, the stars are embedded in this dome, and the dome always seems to be not as high as the Earth is wide. That's always seems to be the case whenever they talk about the dome. They never say it's a dome. No, they always say it's a dome like that. But if there is a dome like this, then uh, you could be here at this end. Let's make a 3 here and look at the North Star, and you could go to this end and look at the North Star. And there'd be a tremendous amount of parallax because this is not very much distance. This is small. That's small compared to this distance, which is very large. So there would be a tremendous amount of stellar parallax if there was a dome and there were objects, heavenly bodies, lights projected onto that dome. There'd be a tremendous amount of parallax. So when they try to claim that a lack of stellar parallax is against the globe model, they're wrong. It's against the dome model. So they need to come up with something else. So let's go back to all right. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong set of questions. Here we go. Some people asked questions on my last video, so I want to go to those as well. Took a drone with a down-facing camera, took large portions of the terrain, and taped those pics together. Wouldn't you have to fold or cut the paper? Eventually, yes. Yes, you would have to distort them to a certain degree. Let's see. Can I explain why it's so difficult to perform controlled experiments to show proof of gravity and mass attracts mass? Well, the thing is, the best way, the purest way to do a gravitational experiment of mass attracting mass would be to have two very large masses and have them outside of the influence of Earth's gravitational field. The thing is, the Earth is a tremendous gravitational influence. So it overpowers everything when it comes to doing gravitational experiments. So the best someone's trying to get my attention over there. What's going on? Sorry, I was drawing something for that time, so it's hard to get my attention when I'm actually so someone trying to get my attention. That was who was it? Dyer 88. Did you have something you wanted to ask? Excellent. Thank you. Keep noting them down, and I'm going to run through these, and it's going to go beyond 2 hours. Don't worry about that. Thank you, and keep noting them down. I'll call. I'll ping you. So the reason it's difficult is because we got to get outside of the Earth's gravitational influence. And so the best thing to do would be to get two incredibly large masses up outside of the Earth's gravitational influence, which is an expensive thing to do. Just shooting, for a gravitational experiment. Let's see. Elastic fabric. Yes, I have seen those experiments. I can't really expound upon that in a way that's helpful in this forum. Nope, 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 nope. I thought I saw something. Nope. Bank statement. PSYOP? No, I don't think flat Earth is a PSYOP. Do I foresee a time when the world's high school curriculum includes teachings of geocentrism? No, not as a valid, but I do think it should be brought up as a way of discussing scientific principles. It should be brought up and it should be discussed so that people don't think it's being hidden. And it's a great. My screen's out of focus. Huh, interesting. Maybe the signal is getting jacked up. Yeah, this says the stream is okay, so there's a lot of activity going on. So I don't think it's going to become ever be a viable alternative because it's not viable. But I think it should be discussed just for critical thinking purposes. Let's see. Shouldn't lunar eclipses prove the globe? Yes, but flat earthers are endlessly creative in their compensating for what they don't have explanations for. I don't pay attention to beefs between other people. I don't know about this whole Anthony Riley thing. Oh, here's Hopeful Pessimist again talking about his suggestion. Let's see. Pressure increases with depth while density stays the same does not prove that density does not explain why objects fall to the earth to a certain degree. Yes. Yeah, the fact that you can't calculate buoyancy without using gravitational acceleration would tell you that gravity is involved in that. Floyd Hampton. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me saying your name. I believe I fully understand why water spins in a certain direction depending on which hemisphere you're in, and I think it's amazing how it drains well on the equator. My mental dilemma is how the spin non-spin can be demonstrated so close in proximity to each other. I've seen vids of this phenomenon, but seem the equator line should be thicker. Yeah, if you're seeing demonstrations of the spin being influenced right by the equator, I think there's one where the guy's on one side of the equator and he does it and he goes one way and he goes to the other side of the equator. Those are fake. those are false. The Coriolis effect does not present itself on small scale objects like sinks and toilets. There's more influences of the configuration of the dish that you're in. The container has more influence on how it drains, the way water is poured into it. I think the video I saw and can you grab that question from Still Closer so I can address it? Let's see. So yeah, I've seen a video of somebody going from one side to the other, and the fact is, what they're doing is they're pouring it into the container a certain way when they're on one side, and they're pouring it into a container a certain way when they're on the other side. At the equator, the Coriolis effect is at its least influential because there's not much difference between the rotation on one side versus it's as you get further away from the equator, there's a greater more dramatic difference between them, and you also need a large body to really show it. I think Veritasium did a great experiment with it, where they had like a 6 or 8 foot inflatable pool, and they let it stay still for 24 hours. They set it up so that there was all these all these other influences weren't involved in it. They did it in the United States and they did it in Australia. They did a dual way of doing it, and it showed the spin that way. But things like toilets, sinks, all that kind of stuff, that's urban myth. Doesn't work that way. Wouldn't the sun shrink and grow if it rotated around a flat Earth? Yes, it would. They claim it does, but they always bring in the glow of the sun. They look at the sun and they go, "Look how big it is." When the fact is, it's glare that makes it look big. If you filter out all the glare, it doesn't change size, except for the distortion it gets when it gets right toward the horizon, when you start to get all the refraction influences. Why does inflation exist? You're not talking inflation in the universe. You're talking about monetary inflation. So, okay. Here's a good one. Why does the Earth's atmosphere? I expected Nathan Oakley to post this one. Didn't I see a Nathan Oakley one? Hold on a second, real quick. Didn't I see a? Oh, I saw a Nathan Oakley one and just. Oh yeah. Somehow did I skip over it somehow? Oh yeah, I did skip over it. And I really expect I pushed him. I pushed Nathan Oakley on this because I wanted him to ask this question that Flat Earth Perth just did, but for some reason Nathan Oakley didn't ask the question he always likes to ask. He decided to ask why I haven't contested the wire transfer. But I do have a confession to make. I have one last talk about people thing. Nathan Oakley, and why I don't care for Nathan Oakley and why you'll never see me on his show. I got this email the other day. Here, let me bring it up. Hold on a second. Got this email the other day from YouTube support. And someone was disputing, this is to notify you that we've received a privacy complaint from an individual regarding your content. And it's this particular video, and the violation is at 5:19. Now, this video, see if I can pull it up without crashing things. Okay. The video is my ranty video. And I didn't understand why anyone would be complaining about this, but let's go to 5:19 and see what pops up at 5:19. At 5:19 is when Nathan Oakley's name pops up on the screen. So he reported to YouTube that I had a privacy violation because I showed his comment on my screen. And so they said I had 48 hours to remove it or edit it to get rid of the private information, or they will, they'll take down the video. Young Earth skeptic, a young blue skeptic. Why don't you have a wrench? You might have to go away and come back, refresh. You should have a wrench, and so should Jesse. You should have one. Your moderators. I don't see one there, so you should go away and refresh. Come back. And so they had said I had 48 hours to take it down. And I immediately sent back to them, just review it right now. Don't wait 48 hours. Review it right now. The alleged privacy violation is nothing of the sort. The YouTuber user made a comment on a comment thread. I took a screenshot of that comment and used it in the video. It shows his username, the YouTube photo, and a short sentence that reveals nothing. This user is upset with me, and this is an attempt to get me censored. If what I show is a violation, please let me know specifically how. Because what I have done is done literally all the time and would be a game changer if it had to stop. Thank you for looking into this. I look forward to your response. Because the fact is, people take screenshots of others' comments and put them in their videos all the time. What is it? There are whole YouTube channels that make a living off of taking the suggestions and putting them on the screen. That's what they do. But Nathan Oakley, in his pettiness, for some reason, tried to get me a privacy strike by having them investigate this video. And of course, a few days went by, and they said they reviewed it, determined that it accepted from removal based on the privacy guidelines. The content does not violate our policies and will remain on the site. Thank you for using YouTube. And of course it doesn't violate, because all it is showing the fact that he supported a garbage video and promoted it. That's all it is. So maybe he should talk to Ranty and explain to Ranty why he was trying to get his name removed from Ranty's my video about Ranty. Why is he embarrassed about his connection to this video that he decided he needed to have his name taken off? Or is he not embarrassed and it was just a petty way of trying to undermine another content creator because they don't like the way they do their business? So that is why I will never go on Nathan Oakley's little program. I don't think he's a genuine person. This type of thing I don't have tolerance for. So that's my last bit talking about people. So let me go back to so Flat Earth Perth asked a question. I think it's a very important question. It's probably the question that Nathan Oakley asks all the time. Let me find it again. Now we're getting toward the top. Sorry for the dizziness of the screen. I think it's up here at the top. Flat Earth Perth. How does the Earth's atmosphere, which is in an open system, become a vacuum of space, which requires a closed system? So this is to the entire Nathan Oakley crew, because I know you guys like this one, and Flat Earth Perth, this is for you as well. You can go ahead and make sure you hit record on this, because I'm going to explain how the Earth's atmosphere, which is an open system, become a vacuum of space, which requires a closed system. The Earth is within a closed system. I'm going to pause to let you guys be outraged by what I just said. The Earth is within a closed system. The Earth itself is an open system. Things can go in, things can go out. Air can drift out, air can come in, meteorites can come in, ships can go out, satellites can go out, all that. It's an open system. But it is within a closed system. That closed system is the universe. As far as we know, the universe is a closed system. Now, you're going to go crazy. I know you are, but let's talk about closed systems that you believe in. The closed system that you believe in, and I'm going to put myself on camera for this. Let's talk about the closed system that you guys believe in. You believe that the Earth is a closed system because there's a dome over it, and because of that, there's a barrier that would keep it from whatever's on the other side. Yeah, that's a big thing for you. You talk about entropy and how it would have to balance itself out. So within the closed system of your global dome, your flat Earth dome system, you have a pressure gradient. There is, and you can't deny the existence of a pressure gradient. And people in the chats, please. I apologize for ignoring you right now because I'm going to just address the camera directly, so I'm not looking at the chat. So in your closed Earth dome system, there is a pressure gradient that we all agree exists. If you don't agree exists, then you're not being genuine. There is low pressure in high altitudes and high pressure in low altitudes. That is a fact. It is a measurable fact. So your claim is that there should be that high pressure should move into low pressure to balance it out. And in your closed system, you don't have a mechanism, your dome system, you don't have a mechanism for balancing that out. For some reason, it doesn't balance out. For some reason, there's a high pressure low and a low pressure up high, and you don't have a mechanism to explain why it doesn't just balance out. Because you deny gravity. Without gravity, you don't have a mechanism. And so in your closed dome system, you have high pressure systems like storms, low pressure systems like other types of storms that exist next to each other. You have high pressure that suddenly shows up in an area next to lower pressure. And you have to ask yourself, what is the mechanism for that? The dome itself isn't making that happen. There's no hard barrier between the high pressure storm and the low pressure front, the high pressure front and low pressure. There's no hard barrier. Yet there is these two different pressures near each other. And that's because there are forces involved. There's temperature and there's all sorts of things that are going on that are causing this little thing to happen where there is a higher pressure next to a lower pressure. And of course, right between them on the border, there's a gradient that goes between. It's not high pressure storm, hard line, low pressure. That's not how it works. It's high pressure storm, a gradient over, I don't know, a few miles or whatever it is, and then lower pressure. That's it's not a hard wall. You have to acknowledge that exists in your world, in your system, because it does. And so you have to say, why is it possible for there to be high pressure next to low pressure in your closed system? Not without a barrier in it, without a barrier between it in your closed system. And I'm sure you can come up with a reason. Yet, in my closed system, which is the universe, you don't think it's possible for there anywhere to be a high pressure system next to a lower pressure system. It's possible in yours for some reason. Dome, Earth, atmosphere within, but for some reason you discard that possibility when it comes to the larger universe. I put to you that the universe is a closed system, as far as we know. And within a closed system, we know from the example that you accept in your domed system, within a closed system, you can have pockets of order, of lack of entropy, where things, bunch together and act without spreading out. You acknowledge that happens because it happens in your closed system. So I will put to you that in the universal closed system, you have the Earth and other planets that have forces, gravitational forces, that are influencing the molecules, the objects around them, causing them to cluster in a pressurized way around them. There is no pressurized system next to a vacuum. We talk about a vacuum, but not everyone, obviously not. But scientifically, we understand that there is always some particle somewhere. There's just, even if it's just 1 per cubic meter, there's a particle there. It is not a pure vacuum. And when you try to create a pure vacuum, weird things happen. Quantum things happen when you try to create a pure vacuum. But there is no pure vacuum. So there is no case when you say, why is there a pressurized system next to a vacuum? That is not what happens in the globe model. That is not what anyone presenting the globe model claims. So when you say that is what happens and we have to explain it, you are misrepresenting the globe position. There is a high pressure near the surface, and there is a gradient of less and less pressure, which you acknowledge exists in your dome situation, of less and less pressure to the point where there is very little pressure at a certain distance. But at no time is there a line between high pressure and low pressure. It's just a gradient. I don't know why. What it is about the word gradient you guys don't understand. It is a gradient. You're going from one atmosphere of barometric pressure, say on a normal day, to what we call the vacuum of space. It is not a vacuum. It is not a pure vacuum. It is what we call the vacuum of space. Put that in quotes. So it's lower pressure, lower pressure, lower pressure, lower pressure, lower, 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 lower. At some point, we arbitrarily say, this is what we're going to call the vacuum of space. But if you move 1 inch closer to the Earth, it's not suddenly high pressure. It is just barely, barely noticeable more pressure. Just like in your dome system, where you have a high pressure storm front next to a low pressure, there is a point where there's high pressure and then there's a little less high pressure, less, 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 less. And now in what we're at some point we go, this is a low pressure front. There's not a hard barrier. There's just a point where we arbitrarily label something as low pressure. So how does the Earth's atmosphere, which is an open system, become a vacuum of space, which requires a closed system? The Earth's system exists within the closed system of the universe. And the forces that are acting upon the atmosphere cause it to have high pressure near the surface, unless as it goes further out. And there is a point where we arbitrarily label it a vacuum of space. But there is no pure vacuum, and there is no immediate transition from high pressure to low pressure. Cut. Okay, I just wanted to give them a nice snippet that they can go over, because I know they're going to foam over that for a while. So now I'm back to looking at you guys. I apologize for ignoring you for that bit of time, but now I'm back on that. So let's get back to here. Let's go back to here. Okay. No. Sorry, Ranty came to say hello. Didn't see that. Excellent. I'm glad he did. So I think we're getting pretty close to there are probably some other ones in here. I'm glad I got a chance to get to that one because I think that's important. I might actually make a separate video about that. So now I think I've done enough of those there. There's more. Maybe I'll use it for another video. Okay, so let me look at hey, Michael Cleary. Hold on a second. I want to talk to Michael Cleary for a moment. Are you there, Michael? Okay. Michael Cleary is he's got this thing about me being Haterazzi 1. I don't know why. I don't understand why you don't recognize the difference between my voice and Haterazzi's voice, who was also known as Dark Hater. I've sent you. I put a link out early on. One of my first videos, I think it was actually it's my third video on this user that I have. It's my first video on a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. I actually do a video and I play a clip of Haterazzi 1 in it because it was because of Haterazzi 1, who was going by the name Dark Hater at the time, whose artistic name is Iceberg Slick. He's a longtime friend of mine. Like I said, Black people have a lot of nicknames. So Iceberg Slick, he also goes by Mr. Gates. I was a producer on that show. I actually appear on that show several times. So the fact that this person, Michael Cleary, is trying to say that I am Haterazzi is odd. Our voices are very different. Our content is very different. Haterazzi, Dark Hater, I like to call him Iceberg. Iceberg was a lot closer in outlook to you flat earthers. He's a serious conspiracy theorist. He may have changed a little bit over the years. We haven't talked conspiracies in a while, but he's a major conspiracy theorist. He is one of the reasons why if you listen to the Haterazzi radio show, you'll hear him talk about conspiracies all the time. He is the reason I started my first videos. Thank you, Earth is Seriously Flat. You actually finally donated. I don't know why you lied and said you donated to me before when you hadn't, but now thanks for donating. But Iceberg, Haterazzi, mentioned me in one of his podcasts about not agreeing with him about the moon landing. And he put out a call for his listeners to watch a funny thing happen on the way to the moon. So in response to that, I started making videos to counter the information that he was putting out on his radio show. And so that's how GreaterSapien came about in terms of a channel, because of Iceberg, Dark Hater, Haterazzi. But we're very different people with very different opinions and very different voices. But we've collaborated on things for years. I've known him for like 20 years. He's a great friend of mine. And that's the funny thing is we disagree on a lot of things, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories, but we're still tight. It's completely possible. But for you to say that I'm Haterazzi is just you being ignorant of the facts. You can hear our voices. We are not alone. We're not the same. We don't even have the same opinions on things. So that's just a direct response to Michael Cleary. And if he keeps perpetuating it, that's his own issues. Ranty Flat Earth. Next time you want to address entropy issue, perhaps bring some scientific proof to the table, empirical evidence. It's simply a more word salad. But it's the same. But hey, Ranty, it's the same that you bring. It's actually, and it reflects reality much more than yours. You can say that it's word salad, but you don't have any evidence for yours either. You claim that you cannot have a high pressure system next to a low pressure system, or a high pressure system next to a vacuum without a barrier or without being in a closed system. And that's because you have chosen to define the globe model the way you want to, as opposed to accepting our model. If you want to argue the globe model, you have to accept our model to argue against. So I'm sorry you don't like the answer, but the fact is, other than dismissing the answer, you can't debate the answer. And you know it. And by the way, ask your man Oakley why he wanted to have his name taken away from your video. Anyway, let's see. Anne, you have any questions in there that that I can address? Yeah, it is hard to keep up with the chat. Let's see if I can. Give me a second here. Live stream. Are tides more powerful during okay, Andre, hold on a sec. Florentine, why are tides more powerful during lunar eclipse? And explain tidal bulge on the other side of the globe. Oh, the tidal bulge on the other side of the globe is really complex. Okay. So why are tides more powerful during the lunar eclipse? The fact is that the sun actually has more gravitational influence on the earth and the waters of the earth than the moon does in general. But the sun is super far away. So the difference between the influence it has on, I'm going to pull up this screen real quick here. Okay. Okay. So you have, where's my thing here? Sorry, apologies. Okay, so let's just go with the pencil. So here's your Earth, and here's your sun way over here. Sun's way over there. Sun. Okay, it's really far away, and it has gravitational influence. But the difference between this side of the Earth and this side of the Earth, when it comes to the distance to the sun, is negligible. You know, a few thousand miles. 8,000 miles in diameter, whatever it is, 7,000 something, compared to the 93 million is not very much. So gravity on this side is more or less, the gravity of the sun on this side compared to this side is more or less equal, because it's very little difference. But there is a tremendous amount of influence, but there's just not much difference. So it kind of pulls everything at once. Does that make sense? I'm not looking at the chat right now, so please bear with me as I do this here. I'm not looking at the chat. So the moon, on the other hand, is closer. And even though it doesn't have nearly as much influence as the sun does, there's a tremendous difference between the gravity of the moon on this side compared to the gravity moon on that side. They're not nearly equal. Thus, there is a fractional difference on this side compared to this side, so we get more bulge. And when the new moon and the lunar eclipse happens, especially when the lunar eclipse happens, everything's lined up. Everything's perfectly lined up because the moon has an orbit that kind of goes this way and this way within that 5 degree or whatever it is off the ecliptic. But when everything lines up for the purpose of an eclipse, either lunar or solar, when everything lines up, all these forces stack up on each other, and thus we have bigger tides during that time. Hold on a second here. I need to take off this hoodie that I'm wearing because it's no longer holding this room. So that's why that happens. The next part of the question was the tides on the other side of the Earth. And that is a lot harder to explain. So I'm just going to do it real quick. You have the Earth here. You have the moon over here. You have what we call paddle bulge over that way. Now, the fact is, and let me pull this up over here so I can see you guys talking a little bit. Okay. The fact is, we always talk about, I think I mentioned this in another video, we always talk about the moon orbiting around the Earth, when in fact both the Earth and the moon revolve around, orbit around a common center of mass, which actually is about right here, I think, somewhere around right there. They both revolve around this part where their masses kind of balance out. And so as the Earth is spinning around this center of mass, there is literally, people always ask us, why isn't the spin of the Earth causing the water to fly off? There is a centrifugal force as everything is shifted. Everything here is shifted. Oops, as this is shifted over. As the center is shifted over. There's a centrifugal force that basically hurls the water on the other side as it's trying to escape. It's trying to be hurled as the Earth orbits this common center, as it's spinning around with the moon. It's literally, it's trying to escape the Earth's gravity. It's trying to be flung off, but it's not, because the Earth's gravity is enough. But so we have more gravitational influence here, but we have a counter, not as high a tide, on the other side as it basically tries to fly off. So that's why we get that there. Let's see. I seem like a nice guy for a Globehead. Why don't I accept Eric Dubé's $10,000 offer? Because I don't deal with neo-Nazis, if I'm going to be petty about it. But I'm not into playing these little games with people. It's not my thing. Let's see. Anne, is there another one? I think I addressed those two. Thank you very much, Anne, by the way, for all your assistance this time. Okay, Larry Scott, does refraction make the flat Earth curved, or does refraction increase the observed radius? Well, it doesn't make the flat Earth curved. It doesn't make the flat Earth curved, but it essentially, I understand what they're saying. That's why they, when you put it into a flat Earth calculator, it's almost as if the Earth is has flattened out more. Because the Earth is, I can't remember who it was. It was like Isaac Asimov or something, saying that it's not that hold on a second, close this here. The Earth's not flat, but it's almost flat. But because if you go out, far enough, it starts to curve. But here at the surface, it looks kind of flat. Like it's almost flat, but almost flat's not flat. And so since it's only almost flat, it rounds off and turns into a sphere. So yes, refraction kind of artificially um, changes, the increase the observed radius. Young Blue, thanks for the promotion. Next question. See, the problem with Sumerian watch this again later after it's uploaded. Problem with Flat Earth, you saying that things are regurgitated textbook. The problem is if the answer is right, it's going to be repeated. That's the problem you guys have with saying something is regurgitated textbook. If it's right, it's going to be repeated. From BJ, what gives you the patience and motivation to debate Flat Earth? I actually put it in quotes. I actually don't have the patience to debate Flat Earthers. I don't have the patience to deal with people in person. I do to a certain degree. I have a hard time though with persons who are so hard-headed and almost intentionally not listening to what you're saying. That's why I prefer to take the time to craft something and say it out completely, because then they're forced to listen to the whole thing. But when dealing with people of this persuasion in person, they intentionally are not listening to what you're saying. So I can't say I have the patience to debate them directly because they're not honest brokers. Does science ever prove anything 100%? Oh, not really. It proves it within a degree of certainty. Um, One thing that scientists don't say enough, which is um, as as we currently know it. That is a phrase that is embedded in all scientific claims, but it is not vocalized nearly enough. Which is, as we currently know it, the universe as we currently know, blah 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 blah. Um, and so people think that science is claiming that they know something absolutely, when the fact is there's an unspoken thing that says, you know, as we currently know. Wrench. Next. Do you have something, Anne? I see a bunch of wrenches flying around. That's funny. Still closer. In your opinion, what is the most damaging conspiracy theory? Flat Earth, creationism, anti-vax. Um, Most damaging. Most damaging conspiracy theory. I think anti-vax is most damaging just in the terms of lives, because we're dealing with life or death situations here. So I think that's probably the most immediately problematic. There's systemic things that down the line are really bad in terms of creationism and flat Earth. If they become ingrained in society, there's anti-intellectualism that goes with it. There's a lack of proper scientific process that it encourages, which I think in the long term will lead to the degradation of science's technologies down the line, which will long term be really bad for everything if those things were to take hold. But those are kind of long term and they can be battled a different way. But things like anti-vax movements are literally lives at stake. Yep. So I would say right off the bat, that's probably the most damaging, immediately damaging. Let me skip through here. Hey, Stanley, what's up? My thoughts on the moon being hollow. Also, how is it a real big coincidence the moon is 400 times smaller? It's the coincidence is that we live at a time that that those things are happening. The moon has been slowly drifting away from the Earth. So there was a time when the moon was a lot closer to the Earth, and you couldn't say that it was 400 times. That wasn't the coincidence. Is that we happened to live during the time where they kind of coincide with each other closely, but not exactly. It's more like so that's why it doesn't fit perfectly. But you know, people like coincidences. Oh, sorry, I was skipping through that thing from and Marvel Girl. Explain that a sextant won't work on a flat Earth. I I haven't worked with a sextant. I haven't done any real uh, um, research and looking at a sextant and a flat Earth enough to speak on that. I'm just going to be honest with you on that. So I to do that would just would be me vamping right off the top of my head. Um, and so I mean we could talk about the difference in the way parallaxes work, which I did earlier, and so that the angles would not work properly. But that would just be me vamping off the top of my head. Sumeri, can you show me a practical example of when it comes to exterior spinning ball, biblical flat? That's yeah. You can't show me a practical example of water conforming to an exterior spinning ball. That's fine, other than the fact that the Earth is round and that's what happens. Um, these things aren't scalable. That's something you don't understand. I get it. You don't understand it, but they are not scalable. Sorry, I saw a comment from Jesse that Jenny McCarthy is ruining our country. I forgot about her. I didn't know she was still a thing. She's still a thing. You seem to think that these things should be scalable, um, but they're not. But I can probably, if I would not be surprised if you were to use something like ferrofluids and magnetic ball that you could get the liquid because water isn't special to conform to the outside of that spinning ball. Just saying. Let's see. Why does the atmosphere stay on Earth? I think that was part of the answer I gave to um, Flat Earth Perth about the atmosphere staying in terms of the gravity and the atmospheric gradient. The problem is with flat earthers, they like to dismiss gravity. And so if they say gravity doesn't exist, then it makes sense that they don't understand how atmosphere stays on Earth. But it does. So the atmosphere does. Oh, something just flew by. Everything just went by real quick. Sorry. Let's got something else for. And see you, Cleary. I'm scrolling through here. Touch on the equatorial telescope mount. Honestly, I think people should just go to Wolfie and see his demonstrations on how those things work. I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on all things. And since I don't have an equatorial mount for my telescope, I don't work with it on a regular basis. But go to Wolfie 6020. He explains it wonderfully. How would the tides work if the world was flat? I don't know. Hold on, there's Ann again. Okay. How do pole reversals work? I think there's the jury's still out on that. I believe. I'm not exactly sure how they work uh, with the exact mechanism of the switches, and that's just me being honest. I don't look into all things. Atmospheric gradient is a textbook answer. You know why atmospheric gradient's a textbook answer? They try to put the right answers in textbooks. That's why. That's why it's a textbook answer. Andrea, do all moons face the planet they are orbiting, or do some spin? Why does ours spin? Yes, not all moons are. I don't remember which ones are which, but not all moons are tidal locked with the planets that they are. We happen to be tidal locked. There's different theories as to why we are tidal locked. There's the moon. The moon origins. Whether or not it was caused by a collision with a large other celestial object, and they end up spinning up together, and the result of that was was the moon, but yeah, they're tidally locked. And no, that is not always the case. I think it might have been Pluto. I don't want to talk out of school, but no, most of them do spin. All depends on how they originated. And fact is, it says, why doesn't ours spin like a planet? The thing is, it does spin. It just spins in concert with the way it orbits. That's all. And the thing is that it spins at a constant rate, but it doesn't orbit at a constant rate. It's elliptical orbit, just like pretty much everything. It's not a perfectly circular orbit. So there is a slight shift. We do actually see some of the edges of it as it gets closer and further away at a different rate. Since it spins constantly and orbits at a different rate, we do get to see a little bit more of it. But it does spin. It just spins to the point where it faces us at all times. Did I skip any? If you had a ball in space and put it in water, it pulled it out, wouldn't the water curve around said ball? It would, due to surface tension, but once you shook the ball, the forces on the ball would act in such a way that most likely they would shift away and start forming their own little surface tension spheres around themselves. Dark Killer says he doesn't think all the Galilean moons are tidally locked. Yeah, so there you go. Okay, Sumerian Sumer just wants to post the same thing over and over again. And Gleam Mac is just posting stuff that doesn't make any isn't factually true, so that's fine. And okay. What do I think about the possibility of a space elevator? I don't think much of the possibility of a space elevator. No, there's still there's so much potential, so much energy that's required to make a space elevator. I don't see why it's one of those things that would be practical. Practicality matters a lot. So I don't think it's a thing. Kane Hawkins. I don't know the theories of Thunderbolt projects and the universe being electrical. I don't know that I'm not familiar with this theories of Thunderbolt projects. Who said this? Kane Hawkins, if you're still on there, why don't you drop me an email? There's a link in the about section of the YouTube channel, and drop me an email with a link to that stuff. I don't know. P Mars is there. Hey, what's up, P Mars? Let's see. Yeah, I thank you, Anne, but I kind of already addressed that one. It's all part of the entire closed system versus open system. I would say go back. Thanks for the link there. I would say go back and look at the section I did. I don't know, it was about 15, 20 minutes ago. Maybe a half hour. Yeah, you can stop posting Johnny's question because that's just a reiteration of what I did before. When will I be doing? Okay, we don't need to put. I think I'm caught up on the questions. When will I be doing the next hangout? I don't know yet. I don't want to make promises that I can't keep. It just happens to be a holiday here in the U.S., so I don't have to go to work today. So that's why I knew I had a chance to come on today. I'm more interested in getting more content out. I'm doing a press check on shirts later this week, so I'm going to record that and I'll show a little bit of that. And thanks, Ann. Really appreciate the moderation that you did and the corralling of information. That was very helpful. Starts with Bill Wall. Why don't you just say one of your questions again right now? Because I don't think it was sent to me. Question is, how am I? I'm doing pretty good. Yes, I do. Yeah. As much as people like to think that we anti, people on the side against flat earthers are just shills that get paid by NASA, I actually have a job. Let's see. Let's see. We skipped the most denting thing. The globe model, the dark matter and dark energy prove gravity wrong. You seem to be conflating universal models with the globe model. You say that dark matter and dark energy prove gravity wrong, but no, they don't. What they do is they point out that we need to refine things, just like Einstein's relativistic equations refined um, the laws of physics that were done by Newton and Galileo before him, but it did not invalidate them; it just refined them. So when you say that dark matter and dark energy prove gravity wrong, you are incorrect. What they do is tell us that things need to be refined locally, and when it comes to the globe, dark matter and dark energy don't have anything to do with it. Nothing whatsoever. Hmm. Go to your question video from like 2 or 3 years and read. How about you just say what the asking me to go to a video and read a comment from 2 or 3 days ago that I didn't see? Let's see. Oh, okay, let's see. Tony Reviews was your name. Let's see if I can. If you put one on there, I went through so many of them. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Your name is Tony Reviews. Let's see if I can find this thing. Uh, let's see. Yeah, there it is. I have Tony's. Okay. There we go. Sorry. How can a rocket fly in space? My problem isn't getting from planet A to planet B. When a rocket leaves a planet A, rocket propulsion. Okay, got it. I'm actually going to be making a video on this. I have a whole series that I'm starting up. It's in development right now called Comet Thread Science. It's about the type of science that people get wrong when they ask questions in comment threads. So your idea is that there's a suction force from space that is greater than any rocket combustion that we can create. And I think it's because the error is because people think of when they think of the vacuum of space, they think of vacuum cleaners, that there's this suction happening. Um, when uh, when these things happen, it's not actually a suction going on. It's the pressurized system pushing out in to the vacuum. It is into the less pressurized area. It's a pushing action. It's a rushing toward, not a pulling into. So the vacuum of space isn't the issue. It's not that, oh, it's just going to pull it out, one, because it's not like it's an open valve and just sitting there and letting things drift out beforehand. The pressure is built up and it is expelled at a high rate of speed. So it's not a suction going on. It's a pressure going out, and every action equal opposite reaction. So it's the pushing out which causes the pushing forward. That's how that works. A way of getting a hold of me other than email, I'd rather email because I can't have things going from all sorts of. I have people hitting me up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Messenger, on email, and honestly, I can't manage them all. And yeah, so it's better to just email me and I'll get to it in time. I don't have time to just chat with people. Click to read more. Yeah. It just doesn't add to it. There's the act of going out, the act of pushing out is the same force that will push you in the other direction. I understand what you're thinking about, but it's not a pull. It's not a pulling out. It's not going to pull out more than the pressure going forward. The pressure going forward acts. It's not like force acts by itself outside of anything else. There's going to be an action reaction no matter what happens. Yes, outer space as depicted in the movies doesn't help. Oh, yes. Schwarzenegger going to Mars and his eyes bulging out of his head and then somehow going back in and being just fine. Yes, I remember that. Thanks for putting the Discord up there. You know I don't mess around with Discord though. That's I'm old. I don't. That's all these extra things. William McCormack, what's your question? But Young Blue, feel free to, and any of the moderators, feel free to grab a question and copy and pasting. I get a lot of emails. I'm not going to look at it right now because then I would be revealing stuff. I'll double check if you if you send an email. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, so let's get those questions in. How do they test the spacesuit? They actually put them in a vacuum. There's video of them putting spacesuits in vacuums. I don't know why people try to act like spacesuits don't work in vacuums and they never tested them, because they do. Mm-hmm. So waiting for that question. Would I go to the ISS if I could? Yes, I would. In a second. In a hot second. The Thunderbird series. I haven't watched I used to love the Thunderbird series. I haven't watched it in a long time. And I don't want to watch it because I worry that it won't hold up and it'll just be stupid. So I don't want to watch it again just in case. Unirock wants to interview me on the show. Good for him, but I'm not really interested in that. You have denied physics, relativity, geometry, and space, which is directly related to being a globe flat. You've glossed over the best evidence. I have not denied physics, not in the slightest. I've denied your association with things that of things that are disparate and that you don't know about. But I have not denied physics. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I'm denying physics. You're asking me if we agree that we have a vacuum from 60,000 feet and above? There is no true vacuum. We make a line and it's arbitrary and we call it the vacuum of space, but it is not a true vacuum. Also, William McCormick, you're on this page. Okay, so let me see. From 4 hours ago. That's why it's a relatively recent one. I was going from the older ones. Okay. I'm going to read this thing from William McCormack. If my moderators can keep track of any new questions while I look at this, I'm not watching the thing. If you have 5 miles of levels, the kind that builders use, in a straight line butted up against each other, you have a way of keep the levels 5 feet off the ground. You're at Salt Flats of Utah. Would that be enough measure to cover the Earth? The thing is that the levels aren't that great, and the difference between each level is so subtle. Is that you wouldn't notice that they were different if you had a way of like I said, keeping them off the ground, that you weren't worried about the actual physical surface that you're supporting yourself with. A level for, if we go by the standard claim of 8 inches per mile squared, that means that just basically means if you had a level that was 8 miles long, or if you just had a beam that was 8 miles long, it would dip down 8 inches on the other end over the length of a mile. But if you take that down to the size of a 2-foot level, you're talking micrometers. You're talking nothing. It's not noticeable on a short level. So you put a level on a surface and you say, okay, it's level. And then you put one right next to it and you say it's level. It looks exactly level. And each one will look exactly level next to the one next to it. The difference between them won't be enough to know. The difference between them won't be enough to overcome the difference in the flawed nature of the level's construction. The plastic, the surface of the levels will be more flawed than the curve of the earth. So that's the problem with that type of thing. There's just not that kind of precision in the construction of these things. Okay, so let's see. Questions from GreaterSapien. So now I'm going to scroll back a little bit, see if there's any I missed. Okay, there's an anti-gravity one. Okay. Do I believe in do I believe in anti-gravity? Do I believe that anti-gravity exists? No. Do I hope it's discovered? Sure, that'll be great. If we found some way of countering gravity, like we can find ways of manipulating magnetism to counter magnetism. If there was a way of manipulating gravity to counter gravity, that would be great. It doesn't. I don't believe it exists right now. I mean, the universe is a vast and varied place. It's always possible that there's some property out there that's anti-gravitational, like the elusive universal constant, K that Einstein was thinking of. That's a kind of a universal anti-gravity that's causing the acceleration. And I'm talking very fast. But do I believe in anti-gravity, like it exists or whatever? Like, no. But I don't think it's a concept that is impossible, though I think it is incredibly fantastical. But if there is a way of unifying, coming up with a unified field theory that integrates gravity in with magnetism and the other forces and brings it into the standard model, then it's always possible down the line. But got to do that first. I'm scanning for my for questions from my moderators. Yes, you can't get a level that's inaccurate. What evidence would a flat earther need to provide to you? Sorry, I know this is one I just haven't come across. For you to accept a flat Earth, huh? Um, there would have to be evidence of probably the nearness. There'd have to be genuine evidence of the nearness of the celestial bodies first off, because without that, there's just nothing you can say. There's nothing you can do about the fact that the way we see the moon and the sun conforms to looking at it from a spherical object. If somehow they can invalidate the South Pole, and if somehow it was discovered that the stars that are orbiting the South Pole, that are circling the South Pole, were inverted or reflections of those on the North Pole, then that would be something. But they're not. But if you take away these things that are absolute flat Earth killers, the existence of the South Pole, the existence of a celestial southern celestial pole, the distance of these celestial objects in terms of how we see them from Earth. If you can't get rid of those, there's no proving a flat Earth. There's no flat Earth, because those things are just they're killers. That's just why they deny them. That's why they turn the moon into a projection or some type of hologram. That's why they say that the South Pole doesn't exist, because they know that those things are flat Earth killers. So they have to get rid of them altogether. Okay, I'm going to scan down to my moderators. Uh, I don't know how the equator exists on a flat Earth. I do not know. Anything I'm missing here? Do you know the quote about understand quantum mechanics? You don't understand. Yes, yeah. That's why I don't claim to understand quantum mechanics. Let's see. Boo, boo, boo. Boy, they're going back quick now. Anything else to? Oh, there we go. I'll check the channel later on. Space is flat Earth per space is virtually a vacuum. Exactly my point. The question is, when does it become a vacuum? That's the point. There is no direct line. The flat earthers like yourself like to say that there is pressure next to a vacuum, and nowhere do globe proponents like myself claim that there is pressure next to a vacuum. That's the point. When you say otherwise, you're lying. All right, Marvel Girl, go back to sleep. Any new ones? Okay, I think there's a couple on my. What is your point, Flat Earth Perth? What is your point? Yeah, I'm waiting for Flat Earth Perth to say what his point is. Can I personally prove anything? All depends on who I'm trying to prove it to. Proof is kind of subjective. Oh, Wolfie did a video about air pressure. I'll have to check that out. Your point is that the pressure does not go from 0 meters altitude in a uniform fashion. No one claims it does. Your point. You still haven't gotten to a point. I well, the thing is, someone says, "Can I explain why flat Earth can't?" We scroll by too fast. Why flat Earth can't explain novas and things like that? That's why they dismiss it altogether. They have to dismiss it altogether because they can't explain it. They have to say that. Thanks, Marty rules. Thanks, brother. That's why they have to say it doesn't exist. You can tell when flat earthers can't argue a point. You can tell the weakness in their argument when they have to claim something doesn't exist. So when it comes to nebulas and galaxies, I mean, they have to come up with something. That's why I say flat Earth fantasy, because they have to fantasize about something in order to explain what they see, or explain away what they see and what they don't want to discuss. The answer of a temperature gradient, you mean a pressure gradient going from 100 to 0 pressure, is wrong. You're still not making a point. Are you trying to say that I made an argument that it goes from 100 to 0 pressure in a uniform fashion? I've never said that. Draw an arc at 4, 8, 12, 36, 48, using the same square showing that the larger the number, the less. Oh, do you want just an example of? Okay. No, that's good. It's a good thing. And this is why we say the Earth is not flat, but it's almost flat. So the idea, I'm not going to do those exact measurements, but the idea is that if you have a circle of a certain size, uh, another circle, just do it. Let's here, and then another circle. Here, while I just go through these things here. And then I'm going to back off a little bit. And I'm going to change this up one more time because I think this configuration is better than my original one. So let's top them all off. So the concept is this, that I didn't see who asked for this. Thank you very much. You see, you have the larger the circle, the larger the sphere, the larger the curved object, the flatter the surface becomes. Even though it's still technically curved, the flatter the surface becomes. You look at this one here, how dramatically it curves over a short distance, over a period of whatever this is. This diameter is 30 points. Over this diameter of 30 points, it curves completely over. But during that same, let's see. During that same diameter, during that same distance, you can see the different degree. Look at that. It's starting to look pretty flat. The bigger the object, the bigger the sphere, the flatter the surface becomes. And if I zoom in close enough, it's pretty darn flat. Now, we know for a fact that is not flat. The closer we get, the flatter it appears. So that is a suggestion by someone there. And that was actually a pretty good thing to request. So thank you very much to Heath Riley. Sorry for getting so close to the mic for that suggestion. Let's see. Sorry, a lot went by when I'm doing that. Whenever I go away, please save this example. Yeah, this whole thing's going to be done. You can't say the vacuum actually starts at 60 kilometers. It's not a fact. It's an arbitrary flat Earth Perth. That is an arbitrary label. It is not where the vacuum starts. It's where we decide we're going to call this the vacuum of space. But 1 foot closer or 1 meter closer than 60 kilometers, it's not like full pressure. There's barely any difference. We've just arbitrarily come up with that. Now, if you want to say otherwise, you're just lying. Yes, this whole video will be uploaded after this finishes. Let's see. Now, flat Earth Perth isn't. This is what I mean by I can't. I don't like debating flat Earthers because he's just being disingenuous and is just going to ignore things that are presented to him. Any new questions? I'm going to want to sum this up pretty soon. It's time to get the day started. Oh, look, he says pressure at 60 kilometers is extremely low and very close to vacuum. But a second ago, you said the vacuum is there. So that's the whole point. It's not an actual vacuum. Live long and prosper. Maybe keep your sanity. That's the whole point of this change is I do want to keep my sanity. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, you're a help. You can quote all the facts you want, but you're misinterpreting them. You can misinterpret quotes all the time. Let me just get rid of that there. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's classified as a vacuum when it gets to the point where aerodynamics no longer work. When you can't get lift out of aerodynamics, just like through Bernalian lift or whatever. I think that's when they decide that it's no longer. They start to call it space when airplanes won't work. Let's see. Any other direct questions? I'm looking. Let's see here. Hold on real quick. I'm going to make some quick changes here. Sorry, I just want to do this right now. Gonna stick in the slow mo real quick. Yeah, they're saved. All right, let's slow mode this sucker. That'll make you guys slow down a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. Anything new? Okay, I think we're kind of. I'll let Anne or whoever else is there um, sop up some questions. I'm gonna do a quick review about. Sorry about this, Bill. Okay, so looks like here's Bill's stuff. 5 questions Mark asked in the speech during the Flat Earth conference. No, I don't have time to do that one there. Being the sun, Earth, and moon are on the same orbit around the galaxy, how does the moon speed up on the outer night side of the orbit and then slow down during the daytime part of the orbit while the Earth is moving around the sun in the same loop around the galaxy? I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there. We don't feel the acceleration, deceleration, and yes, you don't feel the acceleration because if you were to calculate the acceleration of the most influential orbit that there is, which is the spin influential acceleration there is, which would be the acceleration of the Earth around its axis, it's incredibly minor, and we don't notice it compared to the gravitational acceleration we're under all the time. Yes, that's great, Anon. That's a great methodology. So please do that. Let's see. We don't feel. How do we get 14 of 15 higher temperatures in the north when we are closer to the sun in December? The temperatures on the Earth aren't related to the distance from the sun. The distance from the sun is the difference. 3 million miles closer to the sun in December than we are in June is not much compared to the 93 million miles. What is more important is the angle of incidence of the heat hitting you. Real quick, let's go back to something like this. If you were to, let's see, I was going to do this as a polygon. Let's do 3. Picture a light, a heat source. Actually, let's make it parallel. Picture a heat source going in that direction. It's going in that direction, and it's encountering the Earth. And let's just do that there. It's encountering the Earth. So this angle of incidence is very high. It's basically maximizing the amount of heat and light per square inch of surface or per volume of atmosphere. That's what's happening there. It's all getting there. Now, when it comes in at a high angle, then you can see the same amount of light, the same amount of heat energy is being distributed over a larger area of the Earth. So this is getting less, technically each square foot, each square inch, each bit of area or volume of the Earth right here is getting less energy, even though it's the same amount. This cross section is the same amount. It's being spread out compared to right here. So even though technically it is a bit closer, the more dramatic part is the angle of incidence of the light coming in, and so that has more influence on the temperature than the distance from the sun. I'm still doing a live right now. Sorry, talking to my son. He just walked in. Let's see. Look at the high tide map. Short affected by moon's gravity. I've already gone over the moon's gravity. People like to say that tides aren't affected by the moon's gravity because they see how uh, the surface of the surface of the earth affects it, the feeder systems that are coming in, where the source waters are coming from, all that stuff, local temperatures, all that stuff, the texture, the terrain of the surface of the earth, all that affects things. And so if something's a little bit low here compared to right there, they go, see, it can't be the moon. But the fact is the general trend is directly in line with the moon and on the opposite side of the moon from where the moon is. And why is the moon's phase not in the correct position to be reflecting the light of the sun? It is. I'm going to do a video on that, but it is. Okay, so and now I'm looking at what you got here. How do we know the distance of the sun? Well, now we can actually just, we can just bounce things off the sun and get sensors that way. But we have used the parallax of the transition of Venus in the past to more accurately measure these things. Whoa! Thank you, Brainery. Thank you very much. That's 50 American. Okay. All right. I thought it was something super awesome, but that's awesome. Thank you very much. And Sumerian Sumer is just saying the same thing over and over again. This is what I don't like about certain people. Let's see. So we can't bounce anything off the sun. Let's see. Pressure drops rapidly until okay, you're still on that there. What is the best experiment or observation you can do for yourself that shows the Earth is round? I don't know what the best experiment is. One I'd mentioned earlier is the idea of taking something that does not get refracted by atmospheric refraction, like a walkie-talkie or a signal that will not propagate over the curve of the Earth. And hold on a second here. And use that to show the drop. Let's see. Any more radio waves and radios are burned up by the sun, do not reflect. They're not burned up by the sun. No, they're not. They're not burnt up by the sun. They're absorbed by the sun, and I apologize for that. Yeah, we can use stellar parallax. We can use other methods, but yeah, they're actually absorbed by this. They're absorbed by the sun. They're not burnt up. How do signals get burnt up? What is the gravitational attraction of a balloon? Oh, that's to somebody else, not to me. Gravitational attraction of a balloon is the mass of the balloon, but then there is the mass of the air around the balloon, which is being attracted to the Earth, pushing down, and thus it pushes around the sides and the lower end of the balloon and push it up. Okay. Ugly Mac. Yeah. Let's see. I'm waiting for another question. Anything, Anne? Anything out there? 3.6. If creationists are saying that the Earth formed 7,000 years ago, we'd have a leg to stand on, but super claim. Oh, have I seen Wade Underworld's Hemorrhoid 8 video matching cloud patterns to his pics from underground? No, I have not. Can you either post a link here or drop me an email to that? I haven't, because I thought that would be something that would be doable. Okay, cool. Good. We're coming up on 10 o'clock local time. Thank you, John Fapiano. Nice to meet you. Thank you for your support. Let's see. Every time they zoom into an object on the horizon, they have to tilt the camera down. If the Earth was flat, they wouldn't have to tilt down. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. They would be able to look straight out, and they would see the horizon. But the fact is, when they level their camera, and they go straight out, they have to dip it down in order to get to the horizon. Absolutely right. Let's see. So I've got 10 more minutes on this, and then I need to stop. A question: who here thinks the Hemorrhoid takes photos of the Earth? Uh, I do. How's that? Uh, ether has been detected on every experiment. No, it hasn't. They're not going back to ether. Yes, flat Earth is a. Okay, I need to mute notifications, man. Turn those off. Let's see. I am just. I hate to say it. I'm probably going to take some of this video down because some notifications have popped up that show phone numbers of people I know, and I do not want to violate anybody's privacy. So my screen share has had some pop up, so this is going to have to come down. It will go back up later today, but I'm going to have to edit those things out. And if I find out that anybody has tried to scour this and get phone numbers from people I know, you're going to be banned so quickly you won't know what to do about it. So yes, this chat is going to go away when I'm done, because I will be taking this the video down afterwards, at least to edit it, just to do some. Actually, I won't bring it down. I'll just scour it and do some editing. That'll be what happens. So it will stay up, but I'm gonna have it go private for a while, at least for a couple hours while I do some editing, and then I'll bring it back up. My apologies for that, but that's just the way that's going to have to be. Didn't you read my question, Miss Doctor Delusion? Disillusion. It measures energy waves coming from the Earth. Energy waves. What are energy waves? Flat Earth Pearl. What are energy waves? Please tell me that. So when it's looking at things in the visible spectrum, that's not a picture. When it's looking at things in the ultraviolet spectrum, that's not a picture. It's an ultraviolet picture, but it's still a picture. I explained how that is. Go ahead. Thanks, Rockin' Robbins 13. Shut up. Luke Filewalker. I like that name. Very cool. Come on, Flat Earth Birth. You're so talkative all the time. Yeah. Yeah. That's the fact, is that light is energy coming off of the planet, and it captures that, and that's called a photograph. In my opinion, why do flat earthers think the Earth is different than all other celestial objects? Because Earth's special. God made. 5 types of energy of Earth. Visible spectrum is measuring solar radiation. It's not visible spectrum. Oh, excuse me. My brain just exploded from what Flat Earth Perth just said. MRI measure 5 types of energy from the Earth. Visible spectrum is measuring solar radiation. It's not taking a photo. Solar radiation is called light, flying through space, hitting the Earth, and bouncing toward the camera. That's called a photo. When I go outside and you take a photo of me, you are taking a picture of the solar radiation bouncing off of me. Not a light bulb. I'm outside. It's just the sun, solar radiation hitting me and coming to the camera. That's all it is. Yes, slow mode is on because it was crazy. Thank you for reminding me of that. Hey, girl. How you doing? Dog came by for a visit. Excuse me while I have a drink there. Question whether or not the motion of Earth in space can be made perceptible in experiments. We have already remarked all attempts in nature. Actually, no, that it can be. We actually have gyros that are sensitive enough, so we can sense the motion. Maybe back in the day, it wasn't possible. I find it very interesting that people like to find old quotes of people and try to say that it applies today. There's a person who talks about, yeah, that was Gypsy, my dog. There's the people who like to quote the blue marble guy. The guy who took did the assembly of the composite for the blue marble 2002, I think it was. And there's a quote from him saying that, we haven't taken a photo from, beyond low Earth orbit since the 70s. And so we had to do it by these composites. And of course, that quote is taken from 2012. And so it doesn't apply at all to any satellite or any image that has been made of the Earth after that. But people will still bring it up. It's remote sensing. Okay. All right. Yeah, people. Okay. You're just going to come up with your excuses. Let's see. I haven't talked about Foucault pendulum this time. But yes, it does show the movement of the Earth. Yes, solar radiation is energy. Light is solar radiation as well. Let's see. Okay, 3 minutes. I really want to cut this thing down at 10 o'clock my time. Yeah. Why do I use the intro of a girl talking about a samurai? It's not an intro of a girl talking about samurai. It's an intro of a young boy talking about a samurai. It's from a movie. It's from Shogun Assassin, which is a re-edit of a movie called Lone Wolf and Cub. Actually, I think it's Lone Wolf and Cub 1 and 2. It's been re-edited together to be Shogun Assassin. And it is about a child who was taken along for the work that his father does. And it's just a cool track. That's why I use it. Let's see. Are you aware of the axis of evil? It shows special direction in space, which laser gyros didn't find. I don't know what that is in reference to. Only axis of evil I know is the one George Bush referred to. Let's see. Anything else? Okay. All satellites are all remote sensing. Okay. Yeah. So if you have a camera that senses a spectrum of light, it's still a camera. Remote doesn't mean anything. Saying it's remote sensing, the fact that I have a camera that senses the light from the ship out in the distance, I am remote. My camera is sensing the light that comes off of it because that's the sensor on there is set to the visible spectrum. That's still what we call a photograph. Now, you can argue that it is not the same as a classic film photograph. That's fine. But it is no less a photograph than the photograph taken by my iPhone or a digital camcorder. Those are not film. That's not light coming in and making it and changing the chemical composition of an emulsion on a film. It is a sensor taking in the information. That's how a digital camera works. Now, if you want to call your phone a remote sensor, it's saying, oh, I'm going to take a remote sensor of you. Go ahead. But people will look at you like you're crazy because it's a photograph. It's a digital photograph. It's a photograph. And it's the same thing. The same type of technology is used for in satellites. So you're being disingenuous if you say that they're not photographs because they're not like a standard traditional camera. All right. I think I was let's look up Max. I'm going to do a cosmological microwave background. He found special direction. I know he thinks he has. Oh, 30 pounds. Nice. Francs, excuse me. Nice pounds. Radar imager. Okay, so yeah, I'll let you guys go back and forth for a little bit. Now, I don't know if there's a way of leaving this door open for you. Yes. Oh, that's how much that is. Thank you very much. Thanks for the conversion. Thank you for the conversion. Let's see. Okay, so we are going to okay, yeah, put them on timeout. That's good. All right, we're going to be wrapping this thing up. We are okay, yeah, we're just coming up on the 3rd hour. And that was really cool. I'm going to have to put this, I'm going to have to set this thing to private just for a little bit, just so I can do some back end work once this thing is done. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to leave the chat open because I need to do some work on this thing here. And but I do want to thank everyone that was in the room. It seemed to me that was relatively civil, even though there, obviously there are some folks that were trying their best to rabble rouse. Everything, I didn't see a lot of bombs being thrown. Honestly, going forward, I would like to keep this. Thanks, Cricket. I would like to keep this this level of conversation going, as opposed to the bomb throwing that happens oftentimes. So thank you very much once again. My name is GreaterSapien, also known as Jerry Williams. And it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I will talk to you again soon. Take care.